series. Okay, it's all week long, and we're talking about this is not a religious, okay, uh, discussion. It's partly involves religion, but it's spiritual. So if you, let's say, believe in the Bible or you don't believe in the Bible, either way, you're going to find this pretty valuable. Okay. Good morning. Good morning, Sarah. So this is not. I'm not here pushing religion or Christianity or spirituality or anything, but I'm just coming from the foundational understanding that you're not your body, you're not your name, you're that energy that lives in here. So if you want to call it energy, if you want to call it spirit, if you want to call it soul, uh, it's the life force of who you are. Okay, so that's what we're talking about. Okay, now what's the difference between the two? Well, one represents the spirit and one represents the body or the physical world, spiritual world, physical world. Okay, so Mammon is closely aligned with the egoic mindset. What does that mean? Egoic mindset, the ego. What is that? Well, it's everything in the physical world. Okay? So the ego always thinks it knows better, right? So you're talking about analytical things, transactional things. You're talking about physical things, calculating, security driven, fear based motivation, okay? Control based thinking. Okay, so it's the ego. The ego also thrives on separation. Okay, so the ego will always push you into areas where it will present logic. Okay, this is logical. That's logical. Okay, the things that you cannot explain that happen. Okay, the hunches you have, right? And then you go, wow, this thing just happened. I was thinking about it. I was thinking about my bestie, and all of a sudden I ran into her in the mall. Okay, how did that happen, right? So these unexplained things, okay, we tend to use the right brain for, okay, because this is intuition. The right brain is intuition. It's creativity, okay, it's connectivity, okay, it's where God lives, on the right side. This is why Jesus sits at the right hand of the Father and not the left. This is why the journey of Moses, symbolically, esoterically, so esoteric means hidden knowledge. Okay, it's not the common knowledge. Exoteric is the knowledge that is shared with the masses. Okay, you could call it commercial knowledge. It's out there. It's the story. It's, and people buy into the story rather than the true meaning of what it's really about. Okay, this morning I did a post in my stories on a couple of my social media outlets, and it was this is just a side note. It's about the Jews and the Gentiles. Okay, now a lot of people, people that aren't, let's say, um, people that study the Bible, right? They go, oh no, it's that Christian thing, right? Well, actually, Gentiles, okay, are people who are not awake, okay, with awareness. They're not awakened awareness. Okay, they're not awakened consciousness. That's what it means in the Bible. Okay, the Jews in the Bible are the people who are awakened. Okay, those are the people that see. Okay, in the Bible where it says, you look but you do not see, you listen but you do not hear. Okay, because all of that is done in here. Okay, all of that is done in the kingdom. So when you see references that reference Jews and Gentiles, it's not a racial thing. It's who's awake and who's sleeping. Who can see through the hypnosis? Thank you, thank you. Thank you, Sarah. Who can see through the hypnosis? Or let's say, you know, who can see through the things in the physical world that are conditioning mankind, that are conditioning you. And you can't really see until you go, oh, okay, until it's presented to you. Okay, it's sort of like that, Emperor's New Clothes story, where the emperor's walking around in his underwear, and it takes a little boy to go, "Oh, Your Majesty, you're walking around in your underwear." Okay, but everybody's playing along. Okay, conditioning is a little different. It's like people are actually living it. They're living the lie. They're living the illusion, and this is what we're talking about: illusion. This is why we're talking about it. Okay, we're talking about the spiritual versus the physical. How the physical influences the spiritual, and then you begin to identify with yourself as just a body, okay, or just the physical elements of what you see, and you forget who you are. Okay, and I'm not saying like forget your name, who you are in here, okay, the power that you have in here. Okay, so the egoic mindset is everything related to the left side, the left hemisphere of the brain. Okay, so and this is symbolism versus literal brain science. Okay, so this is more symbolic. Okay, although the functions, you get ego from the left side, and your left side is analytical, and your left side is logic. Okay, it's mathematical, all of that. Okay, so that part of it is brain science. Okay, but modern neuroscience shows both hemispheres work together. Okay, so you go back and forth, back and forth. Some people pull to one or favor one. Some people pull to the other side and favor the other side. Okay, but it usually is in reference to a mode of thinking. Okay, so the left brain style of thinking is when you tend to favor the analytical. You tend to favor the logic. You tend to favor things that are on the left side. Okay. Now, when you hear the term in spirituality, you have to surrender the ego. You have to let go of the ego, and then you'll be okay. Then right? Like that. And what they're talking about is when you migrate from the left hemisphere of the brain to the right. Okay, so when you detach from the ego driven habits, from the ego driven choices, from the ego, okay? So all that means is when you rely on the right side, rely on your intuition, rely on your creativity, okay? So competitiveness is a left brain process, okay? Creativity is a right brain process. Not everyone is creative. I didn't know this until like way late in life. I thought everybody was creative. Okay. But you have to exercise your creativity. A lot of people don't have that ability because when they were younger, they were told they had to leave their imagination behind. When you get to being a teenager, right? Oh, you can't do that. That's immature. That you have to leave this behind because in high school they're going to make fun of you and whatever. That kind of thing. So people leave it behind because they're shamed into it. Okay? They're shamed into leaving it behind because, well, that's not how we behave. That kind of thing. Okay? This is societal conditioning. Okay? Because when you start to create, you're a co-creator with the divine. Whether you call it divine, whether you call it God, Jesus Christ, whatever you call it, however you believe. But you're a co-creator. So when you call upon that energy, when you call upon your higher power, let's say, it assists you in creating what it is that you want to create for yourself, for your life, okay, for opportunities, okay, all of that. Opportunities, whether you want to create a business, whatever you want to do, okay, but it's these things that creativity will help you with. So the difference between the two mindsets, let's discuss that for a second. The difference between the competitive mindset and the creative mindset is the competitive mindset suggests lack or limitation because you're competing. Okay, it's like that. I always say it's like that crab pulling things in their hole, like this. You're living like this. Okay? Now, when you create, it's the opposite, right? There's always more, there's always abundance. But it's the way that you think about life that it begins to take shape, okay, in your subconscious. A belief is a thought you keep thinking. If you think thoughts of competitiveness, if you're in a business that competes, or if you're, like that, right? Or if you're on a sports team, it's all about competition, okay? And that's a little bit different because when you're thinking competition in the workplace, when you're thinking competition, let's say when you create a business and you look at other people as competition, and you don't focus on your thing as an independent creation, then you start to go like this. You start to take this and, oh, thank you, B, thank you so much. Good morning, B Pearls. You start to go like this and you go like this. Okay, you limit your thinking like this. Okay, you know how I always tell you, if you think money is the only way you can get something, you're suffering from limited thinking. Anything can come to you in a myriad of ways. Unlimited possibilities. Science is proving this. This is scientific. It's not woo-woo, it's not imagination, it's none of that. But the reason why we're talking about God and Mammon is because it's the contrast between physical and spiritual is in here, and that's where your power is. Okay, so Jesus Christ, Gautama Buddha, Krishna, they said the kingdom is within, because that's where your power is. That's where you attract things from. How do you do that? Through your subconscious. Okay, your subconscious, because a belief is a thought you keep thinking. So the three states of awareness within is conscious, subconscious, superconscious. And the superconscious would be your higher power. Okay, higher self, infinite intelligence, God, Jesus Christ, however you believe. When you start to understand things, like the Jews and Gentiles thing I told you, okay? When you start to understand that, oh, this means the people that are awake and people that are sleeping. Yeah, because the people that are awake understand and their eyes open. When your eyes open, you can see. But you have to ask in here. You have to think in here. You have to focus in here, and then everything opens up for you. Because if you focus on what you see, it's the illusion that Gautama Buddha was talking about when he said the man that sees life as an illusion escapes suffering. He was talking about mental suffering, not physical suffering. Mental suffering, frustration, okay, aggravation, anger, okay, these things that happen as a result of you believing in inanimate objects, okay, in systems of things. And this is what we've been talking about this week, okay? When Jesus says, I will be with you till the end of the world is not going anywhere. It's been here and it stood the test of time. Okay, what Jesus is saying, esoterically, okay, you're not going to get this in Sunday school. You may get it in a Bible study, an independent Bible study class. But the original text means, I will be with you until the end of these systems of things. When will the systems end? They're not ending. They will not end. Systems will be revised. Systems will change form, but they will always be here. So what is Jesus telling you? He said, he will always be with you in here. People are waiting. Some people are waiting. They've been trained. They've been conditioned to believe that Jesus is going to come through the clouds on Pegasus to save people. Okay. Nobody's coming to save you. You can save you in here. Okay. And here's another thing that maybe a side note for you religious people. Okay, because hi Juliana, good morning. Nice to see you. So for you religious people, okay, just know that praying is speaking to God. Okay? And you can speak to God all you want. Okay? Ask, 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 ask. If there's no belief in your subconscious, don't be surprised if there's no alignment with your prayer and your belief, don't be surprised if it doesn't come to fruition. Okay? But the other thing is meditation, stillness, just stillness. Not chanting words that you don't understand, not doing those things. Okay? It's not about the kundalini, it's not about all that stuff. It's not about that. Those are natural processes. The 7 chakras are the 7 seals in the Bible. But those are natural processes that occur when it's time. So when you hear the prayer, meditation, prayer is speaking to God, meditation is listening to God. You have to do both. You can't just talk. You have to listen. You have to pay attention. Why is that? Because then your intuition gets sharper. Then you can feel God more. Okay? And when you start to feel that intuition more, what happens? You start to have a better life because you pay attention to it. Okay, when you're driving down the street, you get that urge to turn right, that feeling. You dismiss it, you get stuck in the traffic jam, you go, I knew I should have turned over there. Right? But this happens to you for all kinds of stuff. Okay, start trusting it. Start trusting it. You don't have to tell people. Sometimes if you tell people, they think you're crazy, whatever, but just try it. It works. Okay, it doesn't matter if you're religious, spiritual, atheist, doesn't matter. You're built the same way. It's the human being. So when you are externally focused, which means away from the kingdom, because your eyes look out there, okay, out there away from the kingdom, then you start to get into the material. Okay, Mammon does not mean money. Mammon means putting your faith or putting your trust in something outside of yourself, because God lives in here. Okay, Source lives in here. Jesus Christ lives in here. But when you put your faith in the credit card, when you put your faith in the bank, in the corporation, in the job, in the degree, in the position, then it begins to become Mammon. Why? Well, because you trust that instead of this. Because this is where the manifestation comes from. So it's important that we talk about this, because religious people can identify with it. Spiritual people can identify with it. Atheists can identify with it. If they don't have a higher self, it's fine. Then there's only the conscious and subconscious. But there is a subconscious, either way you slice it, okay? And this is where your habits come from, okay? So when you have this mode of left brain thinking, okay, you're talking about placing identity on something externally, something other than yourself. Okay, you're talking about safety in the form of, well, if I pay my taxes and do my job and whatever, okay, then I'll be good. I'll be safe. If I follow this system, I'll have power. I will accumulate power. I will climb the ladder and I will garner power. I will have influence and power and whatever. Okay? Any worth in external wealth or systems. Okay? You see this all the time. You see people do this all the time. Okay? But this is when they're not. Good morning, Jay. Sorry, I forgot you. I totally get it now about meditation. Yeah, yeah, yeah. So meditation is just listening. Meditation is just being. Okay, spiritually, it's just being. It doesn't matter if you're religious or not. All that matters is that you're a human being. Just be quiet, close your eyes, close your distractors, and just be. Just be. For 10 to 15 minutes a day. You don't need more than that. If you just do that much, what will happen is you will start to expand within. Okay? And you will start to feel the expansiveness of all that is in here. Now, some people, when they experience this, they go, wow, this is amazing. Okay? Some people do it and, I didn't feel anything. Okay? Give it a chance. Everybody's different in the amount of time it takes to start to feel this. But when you feel it, you will understand. When you start to feel it, things will be revealed to you. Okay? When things are revealed to you, you will start to see the world for what it is. But it's not like the blinders come off and you're always like that. That's not how it works. Okay? How it works is the veil lifts and you start to see the truth. It gets revealed to you. And maybe it'll last 15 to 20 minutes, maybe more. Okay? And you're going to wish that it was always like that so you could see everything all the time. But then the hypnosis kicks back in and it slowly goes like this. Okay? And then you go back to the calendar, you go back to the clock, you go back to the job, you go back to the family, you go back to, walking the dog. And slowly it goes back like that. Because you live in systems of things. Many systems. Okay? We have big pharma. We have big science. Big science is a religion all to itself. There's big religion. Okay, these are all industrial complexes. Military industrial complexes, okay, religious industrial complex, all of these things. And they are industrial. They're huge. But when you're born into these systems and you grow up into these systems, you start to think that that's what it is. That's reality. No, that's the illusion. If you know it's an illusion, you'll escape the suffering. And what Gautama Buddha was saying was when you see things as just external entities, just external things, and you start to realize that only people, okay, because God lives in here, God lives in the other person. This is why the word namaste means the divinity in me salutes the divinity in you, or recognizes the divinity in you. Now life changes because now you recognize you're in here. The body is a vessel. The body is a vessel that carries you around. The body is a vessel that picks up the pen to write. This is why 95% of life is subconscious. It's your body. It's your body doing it better than you. So you commit everything to the body. You commit everything, all the actions to the body. Now the body is autonomous, 95% worth. So you don't have to learn to drive the car every day. You don't need to learn to brush your teeth every day. You don't, you don't have to learn to feed the dog every day, or operate the can opener, whatever. Brush your teeth, simple things, even complex things. So this is why when you want to put something into your subconscious, it's not difficult. It just takes a little repetition. Just do it over and over and over. And pretty soon, you're going to feel like doing it automatically. It doesn't matter what habit it is that you're trying to form. All that matters is you do some repetition. It's like going to the gym. You know, this morning I didn't want to go to the gym. You know, Jay and I were having a conversation about the live and about other things. And I told her, I don't really want to go to the gym. But I went to the gym. And while I was in the gym, I did my repetitions. Once I got into it, my subconscious took over and no problem. And this is why they say about the gym, right? They say the biggest thing is getting there, right? Once you get there, subconscious, boom, your routine just rolls out. Okay? It's when you don't go. Okay? So sometimes the conscious mind has to give the direction. All right, let's go. And you go. And when you get there, the subconscious takes over. And then it's just repetition. Boom, 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 boom. Then you know your routine. To establish a routine doesn't take very long. In 2 weeks, you begin to fall into the routine. In 66 days, the routine is firmly in your subconscious. So the ego represents the false self. Why is it the false self? Because it represents the physical. This is the true self in here, okay? The spiritual. You are the spirit in here. This is your true self. Okay, this thing is your interface into the physical world. When you identify with something, which is what the ego does, it identifies. I am the doctor. I am the attorney. I am the, right? I'm the electrician. I'm the plumber. I'm the carpenter. Now the ego says, I am that. And that's the illusion. Because the truth is in here. This is why Jesus said the kingdom is within. Okay? The ego is driven by fear and separation. Oh, you're very welcome, beautiful flower. Okay, the ego is driven by fear and separation. So what happens when, let's say, political systems, let's say government systems, let's say legal systems divide you? When they divide you, when they project fear onto you. Okay, let's pick big media, television news. Could be radio news, could be internet news, could be social media news. Okay, what happens when these systems project fear and separation, right? Separation, us guys versus these guys. You have the red versus blue, you have whatever. Okay, this is not a political discussion, I'm just saying. When you have fear and separation, the ego thrives. Because the ego thinks it knows best. The ego will choose, right? The ego will choose sides. Based on what? Based on what it thinks is logical. Because it's left brain activity. So the ego is on your left side, okay? The ego will say, okay, I choose that one. That looks logical to me. That's what I understand to be right. I'm going to stick with that. Now what happened? Well, now that the separation has been projected, the ego chooses. The ego needs validation. Thank you, Miss Sunshine. The ego needs validation. So what? How does that happen? Well, you assess, right? And you choose, and you go, oh, they look like winners. I'm going to go with them. Whatever. It could be a gang. It could be a political party. It could be anything. Could be a group. Could be a community organization. Could be a football team. You see everybody on football teams, right? They're wearing the jerseys, flying the flags on their chalk. Okay. This is all mammon. When this is all mammon when trust is put in these entities. I belong to that. I belong to that. That's the ego choosing. I belong to this team. You guys suck. You guys are not as good as us because this is the team. I'm with them. Everybody wants to be on a winning team, right? It's logical. You see? Left brain. Comparing and competing. Ego. First, it will compare, then it will choose, then it will compete. So you always hear people go, well, it's good to have a healthy ego, right? A healthy ego is an ego you can subdue. An unhealthy ego is an ego that gets out of control. But the ego attaches the identity. Okay, it's the identity. I am that. I'm on this team. I'm on that party. I'm with that organization. I'm with whatever. And then there's a competition element sometimes not. Okay? But it's status, possession, image, all of these things that the ego thrives on. Now, when you have a narcissist, for example, I work with a lot of clients that have suffered narcissism, have been with a narcissist. Narcissists don't care. They do not have empathy. Everyone has narcissistic qualities. Not everyone has a lack of empathy. When you have a lack of empathy, you're a narcissist. And because human beings are social creatures, it doesn't agree with them. Why? Because we're social creatures. We want that bonding. That's a right brain activity. That's the right hemisphere. Bonding, creativity, togetherness. Okay. Jesus sits at the right hand of the Father, not the left. Okay, these things are telling you things. But if you only read the story and you only believe the story, well, there's so many interpretations of the story. Okay. So Mammon is ego-driven. Well, let's say it another way. Okay, the trust in an inanimate object, system, or entity is Mammon. But it's presented to most people as, well, God or money. You cannot serve God or money, right? But what did Jesus say? Listen to what he said. First, seek the kingdom, and all else will be added unto you. Okay, but the kingdom comes first. This comes first. You come first in here. And above you, you put your higher self first, your higher power first. If you want to call it higher self, universe, source, Jesus Christ, Allah, God, that should be first and then you. But you before systems. Because you can be in the world and not of the world. In other words, you can be up in the system and not serve the system itself. Okay? I live in the system, I work in the system, I pay taxes to the system. But the system is not just government. I buy groceries from the system, okay? I go to the healthcare system, okay? I receive services from the healthcare system. So we're talking, I get my medicine from healthcare systems, big pharma, the medical industrial complex. So these are all systems. We live in systems. Systems are necessary. But it's the trust and belief in the system itself that takes you away from the kingdom and places you on the system. Oh, the system's going to solve my problems. Oh, the government's going to take care of me. What about God? What about God? In here. God lives in here. What about God? Where's your faith? Oh, in the system. The system gives me food stamps or money or insurance or whatever it is. Doesn't matter. No judgment. This is not a judgment thing. This is not a morals thing. Okay? This is a spiritual thing, whether you belong to a religion or not. It's in here. You're a human being. You have that power. So you can draw things to you. Why? Because everything in the universe is energy. Everything. Everything is energetic. Thank you, Tan. Tan, hello there. Pharmaceutical poison, sorry. Yeah. Well, I have asthma and medicine works for me, so yeah. But I know what you're saying, and I agree why I'm here. I agree with that. But when you rely on external things, now you've created mammon for yourself. Now you worship the system instead of the kingdom. Or we can say you put your faith in the kingdom, or your trust in the system, or your faith in the system, and away from the kingdom where God is in you. So we were talking about wealth last week, okay? And there's two ways to wealth. The first way is you can be that crab and take everything you can get, or whatever you can get, okay? And live like that, okay, in lack, because there's not enough. I need to grab as much as I can, put it in the bank, or whatever, right? And there's the other way of wealth, which I practice all the time. It never, ever, ever fails. When you ask and you believe in your asking, you will receive. And guess what? There's a never-ending supply. Do you have to do things? Oh, of course. Sure. Provide services for others. Provide some whatever it is. Okay. It could be a minimum wage job at, I don't know, a coffee place, a restaurant, or whatever it is. But you will receive things from the outside. Yes, Wolf, you're absolutely correct. Let me read this. Wolf says, yes, and those that understand how to use the mind over matter control it. And that's exactly what I'm trying to teach here. Okay, so that's a brilliant way of saying it, Wolf. Thank you. The system is the outcome. Your creation is the kingdom. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Thank you. Because this is what we were talking about, what I talked about earlier, what I said earlier about the right hemisphere of the brain. That's where creativity lives. That's where you create from. That's where intuitive thought comes from. It's the right hemisphere of the brain. The left is the ego. But when you access this power, and it's not a mystical power, it's not like, well, I have to pray and get this power. No, you have this power. Look around you. You've manifested everything in your life. Look around you. Everything you have, good and bad, and bad. How do you change that? Look at the bad things, okay? Now that you know what you don't want, you know what you want. It's the opposite, or something different. How do you get that? Affirmations, meditation, vocalization, visualization, and prayer. Okay, prayer helps in the asking. Affirmations is the asking. Prayer and affirmations are asking. Affirmations are also directions. Directions to what? Your subconscious. It's your subconscious. Okay? This is not like, oh well, manifestation is this magic. You say your incantation, or you throw salt in the make a circle and throw salt over your shoulder. If that makes you feel better, okay, go and do it. If you want to light candles, go ahead and do it. But the power is here. The prison is also here. And this is why I do an hour every day to free people from the prison. Because until you hear it presented a certain way, you go, manifest. Okay. I don't need to learn how to manifest. No, you manifest whether you're aware of it or not. But the awareness is priceless. Okay. The awareness of, oh, I just thought about this thing over and over, and a belief is a thought you keep thinking. Oh, and then the superconscious brought it into reality. Yeah, because everything is created already. 5,000 years ago in the Emerald Tablets, creation was pronounced complete. What we're experiencing is just revisions of creation. Revisions of creation. Take a look at the helicopter. Leonardo da Vinci sketched it, drew the plans for it. It's also in Egyptian hieroglyphics. Ooh, whoa. How far away was that? Thousands of years. So, when you start to look at this ability that you have in here, okay, and all you have to do is shape your thinking, focus your thinking, direct your thinking, adjust your thinking, okay? Focus on what you want instead of what you don't want. Focus on the things that will benefit you instead of the things that will not serve you. In our process, thank you, Jay. In our process, so Jay, yeah, so we came up with this. People have been asking me about the vocalization process that frees you from anxiety, that frees you from the illusion of life. Okay, what we've been conditioned into. So we came up with this platform over here, this one over here. I'm not gonna say because some algorithms limit us when we start talking about their competition, but these you guys over here, okay? Take a look at that. What Jay has put up here. So that's we're making that available. Just we have just a few of them. I think we have 4 of them available. But other than that, I'm not here to push sales or what have you. Okay, I don't have a course for you. But I'm trying to give you the solutions. A lot of people are, using affirmations in the speaking form only. Oh, you just speak it and it happens. Well, that's true. Okay, that's not fabrication. Because your subconscious listens to your voice over everyone else's. Your subconscious recognizes your image over everyone else's. Why is that? Well, you always look in the mirror, right? Repetition. It sees you more, okay? You see yourself more than you see other people. Okay, right now I can see myself on all these monitors with all these cameras. So your subconscious is very much aware, but it's subconscious, below conscious level. Sometimes it's referred to as the unconscious. So many people live their lives unconsciously. It's phenomenal. But why is this? Well, it's because we're so intelligent. We commit everything to the subconscious and then we let go. Then we don't have to think. So many people are running around not thinking. Another observation yesterday that somebody else made was that, this lady said, what is this Grand Theft Auto? Like these cars are flipping over. These cars are, people are flipping cars, and this happens when they're texting or whatever, and the car just, the steering wheel gets out of control. The car flips over. And she's like, what is this Grand Theft Auto? Yeah, yeah. So I used to play Grand Theft Auto, and guess what happened? I started feeling like the character. I started doing, because I wanted to see, okay, what's this game thing all about? This was years and years ago. This was almost 20 years ago when it first came out. And then it was flight simulators. Then I started driving like the flight simulator, and I'm like, oh, whoa, 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 whoa. Okay. So what I'm saying is, some people are not aware enough to understand that, oh, now I'm behaving like the game. Oh, real life is not the game. And they cannot separate the two because everything's been committed to the subconscious. And the violence that they partake in the game gets brought into the real world. If we are so intelligent, then why are we left lost here? Awareness. Intelligence and awareness are two separate things why I'm here. If we are so intelligent, then why hormonal imbalance or prostate issues, kindly contact me for. Okay, Jay, can you help this guy right here? Everybody wave goodbye. So, what I'm trying to get at is, when you become conditioned into the systems, okay, there's not just one. And they're necessary, okay? They're necessary. But when you get conditioned by the system, you begin running on autopilot. You start taking away from your awareness, okay? Because the ego identifies with that, with this, with that, with that, with that. I am that, whatever. I am a citizen of that country. I do that job. I have that degree. Okay, so you're a human being. You can identify with more than one thing. You can identify with a host of things. But the point is, you take your trust, you take your belief, you take your faith, and you put it somewhere else. That's Mammon. But I don't believe in a God outside of us. Was raised Roman Catholic. Yeah, no, God lives in here. The kingdom is in here. I guess you're late for the live. Why I'm here. I'm glad you're here. Welcome. I've been saying this. Yeah, I always say this. So you're very welcome. Of course I respond. I try to respond. Hard to get, hard to get out of old programming. Yeah, well, it's affirmations, meditation, vocalization, visualizations. It's not hard. It's not hard at all. You're very welcome. Yeah, thank you for joining us. Yeah, we love you guys. We love you guys. So the point of it, we have a chat going on over here, okay, on another platform. We're on 7 platforms every morning. Okay, this is my volunteer work. This is my community service, and I haven't done anything wrong, but this is my community service. Yeah, I haven't, this is not a court-ordered thing. It's just me. But anyway, yeah, so awareness, right, depreciates, well, let's say, that's the wrong word. Awareness diminishes. I'm trying to do this in real time, and I have an ADHD brain, okay? So, but awareness starts to diminish when you start to identify with things outside, okay? So this is why that vocalization process that we're talking about, the one that Jay is talking about, okay, the vocalization process. And the offer over here, maybe I'll explain this for a second. Bear with me, you guys on this side. So this is 30 minutes, okay? And the rate that we came up with is very, like, much more affordable than our regular rate, but it's a 30-minute rate, and it's for 4 30-minute sessions a month. It's a 1 month thing because you can't just do 30 minutes and get better. Although yesterday, I had this guy who texted me after his first session. He did an hour session, but he texted back. He goes, "Wow, I haven't felt this good in years." So, but anyway, so that's like a half hour for 4 times. So every week, once a week, same time, 30-minute session, and it frees you from anxiety. It frees you from overthinking. Okay. Because that overthinking is that association outside of yourself, that the illusion. That's what Gautama Buddha was talking about, the illusion, which brings mental suffering. Bob Marley said it a different way. Bob Marley said, "Emancipate yourself from mental slavery," in his redemption song. Okay, redemption song. Think about it. Listen to the words. Bob Marley said a lot of things in his music. He used his music to wake people up. Yeah, we've been programmed from birth. Sarah's one of my clients, and you can ask Sarah if the vocalization works. You can ask her. She's doing it. She's making remarkable progress. Yeah, so we've been programmed from birth. This is not a conspiracy theory. This is the fact that you are this highly impressionable, intelligent being, that whatever you're presented with, okay, continuously, repetition, goes into your subconscious as a belief. And you can make people believe anything. But when you get it from a system, right, what do we get? Good news or bad news all the time? Bad news. Why? Because good news is boring. Nobody's interested, right? Oh, this guy gave money to charity this week. We're like, big deal. Oh, this guy took his car and he intentionally mowed down what I'm not gonna complete it, but I don't want to mess the algorithm up. But that, okay, is interesting, right? Oh my God, and we want to watch it. So these things desensitize human beings. You get desensitized. Okay? You get immune. Nothing phases you anymore. Your awareness starts to diminish. Programmed from birth and enslaved with our birth certificate in the system. That's another part of it. Yeah. Yep. Yep. Yeah. So maritime admiralty law is a thing. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you, Sarah. So, we're aware of these things. We're aware of the conspiracies. But first you have to see these things. You have to see them for what it is. And this is why Jesus said, you seek the kingdom first. Because when you seek the kingdom, when you pray in the kingdom, okay, people put their prayer outside. People put their prayer up in the sky. Yet God lives in here. It's just that your eyes look away from the kingdom. So when you go into the kingdom, close your distractors. Okay, now you pray. The focus should be internal. Including your prayers, you need to meditate. You need to be still. There's an old saying, be still and know. Okay? Because whether you believe in God or you don't believe in God, either way, you're a believer. You're a human. 70 years exactly. 70 years exactly? You're 70 years old? Sue Dakota. Welcome. Welcome. So how do you break free of this? Well, the fastest way is through your voice. Because it separates you. It pulls you into the moment. And it separates you from the system. Or systems, because there's many. But it separates you from your constructed reality, from that fantasy that you think is reality. But the reality is actually in here. The reality is in here. It's eternal. when your life path unfolds, it goes like this. It doesn't go like this. Life doesn't happen like this. This is victim mentality. Everything happens to me. I gotta dodge bullets all the time. No, 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 no. I was meditating and lying down in the snow yesterday. That works. I used to do it in a sauna while I'm here. And funny that you mentioned that. I used to do it in a sauna. And it used to be like almost 120 degrees. And I did not feel. Hang on. Okay, I just had to do that. It was like 120 degrees, and everybody was telling me, "Dude, you can't sit in the sauna that long at 120 degrees." And I'm like, I was in there for 45 minutes, and I did not feel hot because of the layer that I felt outside. Yeah, so I get it. You can lie in snow, you can be in heat. Meditation is very, very powerful. Philippines. Oh, you're in the Philippines, Stan. Nice. Are you Tagalog? I speak a little Taglish. So, when we start discussing, oh, you're Tagalog. Okay. Magandang araw po. Maybe I'm older, because I'm like older than most people. So, magandang araw sa'yo. There you go. So, the reason why Jesus was contrasting the body and spirit, okay? So, Mammon and God, it was ego-based security basis soul-based trust, okay? Believing in God, in here, in the kingdom, instead of placing your trust on something else. If you're trusting the hospital, if you're trusting the bank, if you're trusting the financial system, whatever it is, if you're trusting the stock market, if you're trusting the government, you're taking away your trust from God and you're placing it there. Okay? And if you don't believe in God, fine. But you're taking the trust away from yourself internally. Okay? Not believing in yourself. Okay? God lives in here, so not believing in God. However you want to say it. Okay? Not believing in your life force, which attracts everything to you. Okay? Everything is energy in the universe. However you want to say it. But that's what Jesus was talking about. When he said, cast your net to the right side, he's talking about the right hemisphere of the brain. That's what's directly related to spirit. Oh, it's nighttime. Oh, okay. Magandang gabi. Magandang gabi sa'yo. Okay. Sorry, I forget it's nighttime sa Pilipinas. Okay. So basically, this is part of our journey and part of what we're trying to convey to you, because it's important to know that you have the answers in here. Okay, it's important to know that when people are fearing you, when they are projecting fear onto you, okay, rely on this. Go into your closet. Okay, when Jesus said, go into your closet and pray. Okay, this is your closet. Okay, go into the temple. Okay, this is also the prison. Okay, but when you get liberated from the prison, it becomes the temple. This is why the Jews, okay, are the conscious awareness. Gentiles, still sleeping. Okay, these are the esoteric meanings. So, with this knowledge, when you get, scared, when people project fear onto you, water off a duck. Okay, know that your power is in here. God lives in here. The kingdom is within. Okay, you retired from the keyboard factory yesterday. You weren't putting in enough shifts. Okay. Dad jokes lover. God is good. Yes. Oh, thank you. I tried, Tan. Thank you very much. Yes. Yep. It's good to surrender. Yes. Okay. We will see you tomorrow. Jay's saying see you tomorrow. So we will see you guys tomorrow. Thank you for joining us. Thank you for coming back, Tan. I remember you. Yep. Yeah. Maraming salamat sa iyo. Okay, so we will see you guys tomorrow.